Konnichiwa! Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Nihongo Master podcast. It's Azra, your host, and today's Study Saturday is part of the fundamentals of Japanese language learning, as we are breaking down the basics of adjectives. Adjectives are so important in any language. They are used to describe things and express how you feel about something. It's like saying, the shoes are beautiful, or that meal was expensive. This is definitely the next step up from verb conjugation, which we covered in Season 9, Episode 4. Check that one out if you haven't. Conjugation is crucial in the Japanese language, so listen closely and take notes. We break down Japanese grammar in the simplest and easiest way possible for you. And if you like our Study Saturday series, check out our online learning system at nihongomaster.com. We format this language learning podcast series just like it. Now let's get straight into it, shall we? In Japanese, adjectives are classified into two categories, EAdjectives and NonAdjectives. How they're classified is based on the ending of the adjective. Depending on the type of adjective it is, you conjugate it differently. But don't worry, almost all adjectives fall in either one of these two categories. We'll look at conjugating into negative, past, and past negative tenses. Once you have gotten the hang of these conjugations, you'll be a pro in Japanese adjectives. First up, we're looking at EAdjectives. EAdjectives refer to adjectives that end with the E hiragana. Some examples of the EAdjective include I to mean good, yasui to mean cheap, oki to mean big, and atarashi to mean new. If you notice, they all end with the same hiragana I. Almost all EAdjectives conjugate the same, except for one. I, good, changes its first syllable to yoi in other tenses, so take note of that. Another thing to note is that EAdjectives cannot have the auxiliary verb added. For example, you cannot say it as これは大きいだ. You should say it as これは大きい. Now let's look at how to conjugate to its past tense. Changing an EAdjective to its past tense is pretty simple. All you have to do is change the ending I to katta. EAdjective without I plus katta. For example, to say is expensive, it's takai. To say was expensive, you take the EAdjective without the final I and then add katta. So takai becomes taka, then becomes taka katta. To say something is cheap, it's yasui. The past tense takes the last I, becoming yasu, then add katta to make yasukatta. Simple, right? Remember I mentioned about the exception? The only exception is I, which changes to yokatta. On to the negation conjugation. To make an EAdjective into its negation, you have to change the ending I to ku. Then you add nai, which is the negation of the word aru, which means to exist. So it's EAdjective without I plus ku plus nai. For example, let's use the word takai, expensive, and change it to its negation. Take the I out of takai and you get taka. Then add ku, takaku. Then add nai, takakunai. How about cheap? Yasui becomes yasu, then yasuku, then yasukunai. Now, if you want a negative past tense, you first negate the word, then change it to its past tense. The format is negative EAdjective without I plus katta. For example, takai becomes takakunai for its negation. So you take the last I out, then add katta. It then becomes takakunakatta. Yasui is yasukunai for its negation. For the negative past tense, it's yasukunakatta. Simple, right? Okay, the final thing you need to know about EAdjectives is its polite conjugation. It's pretty simple, mostly. To make the adjective polite, you add des after the EAdjective regardless of tense. For the root word yasui, You can have yasui desu for the present tense, yasukatta desu for the past tense, yasukunai desu for the negative tense, and yasukunakatta desu for the past negative tense. The negative form and past negative form can also be changed into a different way of polite form. The ending nai desu can be changed to arimasen. So, yasukunai desu can also be said as yasuku arimasen. The ending nakatta desu can be said as arimasen deshita. So, yasuku nakatta desu can also be said as yasuku arimasen deshita. Moving on to the na-adjectives. They're a bit simpler than the e-adjectives. Na-adjectives are adjectives that end with na. It's easier to look at as those that don't end with e. Some examples of na-adjectives include shizuka, to mean quiet, and suki, to mean like. However, there are some exceptions to the rule. For example, the word kirei, beautiful, and kirai, hate, all end with e, but they're actually na-adjectives. Unlike e-adjectives, the auxiliary verb is supposed to be added to na-adjectives, but casually can be omitted. For example, to say it's quiet, you say it with a da at the end. Shizuka da. Let's take a look at the past tense and past polite tense. Because na-adjectives take on the auxiliary verb, it's easier for the conjugation. This is similar to noun conjugations where you just add datta for informal or deshita for formal for its past tense. For example, shizuka becomes shizuka datta or shizuka deshita. Suki becomes suki datta or suki deshita. Now, the negation, past negation, and polite negation are pretty similar to the past tense. In fact, it's a good way to think that it conjugates similarly to nouns. Let's look at negation first. You add dewa nai or dewa arimasen, the latter being for the formal. Shizuka becomes shizuka dewa nai or shizuka dewa arimasen. Suki becomes suki dewa nai or suki dewa arimasen. For the past negation, you add dewa nakatta or dewa arimasen deshita. By now, you should know which is for informal and which is for formal. Shizuka becomes shizuka dewa nakatta or shizuka dewa arimasen deshita. And with that, we've concluded the ways of conjugating Japanese verbs. We could do with a quick recap, don't you think? There are two types of adjectives in Japanese, e-adjectives and na-adjectives. To conjugate the e-adjectives, you take the final e hiragana out first. Then, for past tense, add katta. For negation, add kunai. For past negation, add kunakatta. To conjugate the na-adjectives, you take the final na hiragana out first. Then, for past tense, add datta. For negation, add dewa nai. For past negation, add dewa nakatta. Phew, that was a hell of a grammar crash course. Now it's time for us to put them into practice so we can get accustomed to it. As usual, we have two short role-playing scenarios exemplifying the new grammar we just learned. First up, we have Rina and Keiko going out shopping. ねえ、ケイコ、新しい靴を買いたい。その店に行こう。行こう。ねえねえ、高くないか？予算はいくら？高くないと思う。安いと思うよ。でも、綺麗だと思うの？さっきの店の靴を綺麗だったと思う。そこでまた行きたいか？多分、高いか覚えている？高くなかった。安かったよ。でも、品質は良くなかったと思う。じゃあ、他の店を探そう。一日中買い物をすることができるよね。 その美味しいコーヒーのカフェに行って電話で探そう。Now, let's have a listen to the English translation. Hey Keiko, I want to buy new shoes. Let's go into that shop. Let's go. Hey, isn't it expensive? What's your budget? I don't think it's expensive. I think it's cheap. But do you think it's pretty? The previous shop's shoes were pretty, I think. Do you want to go there again? Maybe. Do you remember if it's expensive? It was not expensive. It was cheap. But I think the quality was not good. Then let's find other stores. We have the whole day to shop, right? Yep. Let's go to that cafe with delicious coffee and search on our phones. Moving on, we have Ryosuke and Nana discussing what to buy for their mom's birthday present. Take notes for this one, as we have a short quiz section for you afterwards. Ryosuke-kun, ママの誕生日プレゼントのために何を買った方がいいと思う？
わかんない。ママは料理することが好きだよね。新しいのポットとかいいの？
去年買ったよ。料理することが好きだったよ。今はママジムに行くのが大好きだよ。
そうなんだ。じゃあ、ジムのためにの服買おう。
面白くないよ。
じゃあ、ナナちゃんはプレゼントについて考えて。
一緒に考えてよ。毎年同じ会話をしてるよ。楽しくなかったな。
はいはい、考えよう。ママの誕生日はいつ？
Now we have 3 quiz questions for you to challenge yourself with. First question. What did they buy for their mom last birthday? Second question. What did Ryosuke suggest to buy for this year's present? Third question. Why did he suggest that? Answer check. The first question's answer is, they bought a new pot. The second question's answer is, he suggested to get gym clothes. The third question's answer is, it's because their mom now likes to go to the gym. Let's wrap it up with a quick vocab recap. Yasui, cheap. Takai, expensive. Ooki, big. Atarashii, new. Shizuka, quiet. Suki, like. Kirai, hate. Kirei, pretty. Mise, shop. Kao, to buy. Yosan, budget. Ikura, how much. Mata, again. Oboeru, to remember. Saki, earlier or just now. Sagasu, to find. Kaimono, shopping. Ichinichi ju, the whole day. Hinshitsu, quality. Oishii, delicious. Tanjoubi, birthday. Presento, present. Ryori o suru, to cook. Daisuki, love. Omoshiroi, interesting. Fuku, clothes. Kangaeru, to think. Maitoshi, every year. Kaiwa, conversation. Tanoshii, fun. And that's a comprehensive guide to basic adjectives and its conjugation into various tenses. How would you describe this episode? Is it kantan datta? Or is it muzukashikatta? Muzukashiku nakatta? Tell us your thoughts by commenting on our social media platforms. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, if you're interested in similar bite-sized grammar pointers, head over to the Nihongo Master blog for more. We have this episode content in article form too. Check that one out. And if you're keen on picking up some more Japanese for yourself, pop onto our official website, nihongomaster.com, to learn more about our interactive online learning system. At Nihongo Master, we offer efficient Japanese lessons that are quick, easy, and fun for Japanese language learners of all levels, from beginners to advanced. Our smart tools will assist you in areas where you need a bit of a push. and congratulate you on the ones you aced. Get a subscription today and get a head start on Nihongo journey with Nihongo Master. Thank you so much for listening in. Join me next time. We'll be looking at an interesting part of the Japanese language. Mata ne!